Have you ever felt like something invisible stopped you from making a bad decision? What if I told you that maybe it wasn't just a coincidence? Have you ever felt like something protected you? Without explanation, a strange sensation, an unexpected chill, a silent voice inside you saying, "Don't go down that path." Is this just a coincidence or a sign? Many people experience this, but few talk about what is really behind these moments. What you are about to discover now may surprise you. There is an invisible presence acting behind the scenes in your life. A guardian angel, and the most impressive thing, he doesn't need to say a word to save you. He acts silently, even before danger gets close, and maybe this has already happened to you, and you didn't even realize it. You are about to delve into real stories where angelic intervention was so subtle that it only became evident after everything had already happened. Ordinary people, in unexpected situations, who were saved by forces that science cannot explain, but that the heart feels. Have you ever imagined being about to get into a car, and something makes you forget the key? A few minutes later, you discover that that same route was the scene of a serious accident, coincidence, or divine protection. Stay with me until the end, because the last detail of this story is the most unbelievable, and as you listen, think, what if this were you? What if that time you were late and angry was actually a silent angel's way of pulling you out of harm's way? What seems like chaos at the moment may be the very thing that saved you from something worse. You'll never ignore these signs again after this. Maybe you've felt something strange before a decisive moment, a sudden feeling of unease, an inexplicable urge to change plans, or even a strange dream that made you wake up restless. If you've ever had the feeling that someone invisible helped you, you need to see this, because there is a pattern. There are signs. And those who learn to notice these, signs, begin to live with more attention, more faith, and, above all, more protection. There is something here that no one realizes. But when you understand, everything changes. The stories you are about to hear are not in books or newspapers. They are in the memories of those who lived through something so intense that not even time could erase it. They are stories of ordinary people like you and me, who one day, without knowing it, were saved by a silent angel. Comment if you've ever felt something like this. You're not alone. What we're going to explore now goes far beyond supernatural stories. It's about how the spiritual mixes with everyday life, about how the angelic presence can be closer than you imagine, protecting you, guiding you, and often, saving you from dangers you never even saw. And this story begins like any other, but ends with a sign that not even science can explain. Stay with me, because what comes next may change the way you see the world. And as these stories unfold, you may begin to remember moments like these in your own life. Those seconds that seemed trivial, but later took on new meaning. Maybe an annoying delay that got you out of a dangerous situation, an illogical feeling that made you change your mind, or that calm voice, almost imperceptible, that told you to wait, even when everything told you to keep going. If you've ever felt something similar, tell me in the comments. Your story could touch someone today. This space we are creating here is not just about telling incredible stories. It is about recognizing, together, that there is something bigger guiding our steps, even when we don't realize it. Each comment you leave here carries an energy, and that is what keeps this space alive. Tell me, what did this story remind you of? Have you ever felt like you were being protected by something invisible? Have you ever ignored a sign, and then realized what had happened? If this topic resonates with you, if something inside you connected with these words, like this video, it helps to show that there are people awakening, feeling, living this same type of experience, even if in silence. And if you feel that this type of message needs to reach more people, subscribe to the channel. This helps this voice to go further. It helps to keep this conversation alive, to spread light in a world that so often needs signs to continue believing. This channel exists because there are people like you feeling, awakening. So, if this spoke to you, like the video and show that you are not alone in this. It is with your presence here, with your like and your comment, that this message finds more hearts. And now, as we continue, pay attention, because the next story brings a detail that could change everything you believe about divine protection. There are times when everything seems calm on the surface, but something inside you pulses like an invisible alarm. It's subtle. There's no noise, there's no clear warning, but there's a slight discomfort, as if something behind the scenes of reality is trying to alert you. The truth is that, even when you feel alone, there's a presence that watches you silently, ready to act without you even realizing it, a guardian angel. Not the one from old paintings or stories we heard when we were children, but a being that moves invisibly, crossing layers of existence to protect you at the exact moment danger approaches. Have you ever stopped to think about how many times you narrowly escaped? One extra second, one different step, a seemingly trivial choice that changed everything. Many of these coincidences are, in fact, carefully orchestrated movements by a force that operates beyond our comprehension. And that is where the mystery lies. Because what seems simple, almost always, carries a hidden truth behind it. Now I want to go even deeper into this subject. There is something powerful about silence. Silence is the space where the most important decisions happen. It is where the spiritual whispers, where the angels come closer. When everything around is quiet, the soul hears better. And it is in this silence that many of these signs arrive. Not with words, but with sensations. A shiver, a desire to stop, a sudden change of direction. They are like subtle nudges in your conscience, small interventions that prevent great tragedies. Maybe you never attributed it to something divine, but if you remember now how many times your intuition saved you, you might understand that it wasn't just intuition, it was intervention. A little push from someone who knows you inside out, who sees beyond time, who sees what's coming, and acts before it happens. Now, imagine this scene with me. A person is about to leave for work. Everything is as usual. But, that day, something makes her forget her bag. She goes back. She takes a long time. She gets angry, and on the way she would have taken at the usual time, a serious accident happens. The difference between life and death was 3 minutes, and a forgetfulness that seemed like just bad luck may have been the silent action of an angel. The impact of this goes beyond physical protection. This presence also shapes our mindset. It teaches us, even without words, to trust the invisible more. To understand that not everything that goes wrong is, in fact, wrong. Sometimes, delay is salvation. The longest path is the only one that will keep you whole, and the closed door is the only one that will keep you from falling. Now I want to go even deeper into this understanding. When you start to notice the signs, something inside you changes. You start to be more attentive, more connected, more present, because you know you are not alone. And even in the darkest moments, when everything seems lost, that is when the angels often come closest. They do not prevent the challenge from coming, but they ensure that you get through it with less damage. They do not cancel the process. They accompany the journey. And there is something almost poetic about this, knowing that even when you don't ask, there is someone who acts, who, even without applause, fulfills his mission, and who, even in silence, is there for you. This changes everything. It changes the way you look at life, at losses, at deviations that previously seemed random. Because, suddenly, you understand that the invisible also has a logic. That chance often has a name, and that this name can be angel. Now I want to tell you a story. One of many. It starts in a common way, with a seemingly simple decision, but what happens next defies any logical explanation. And perhaps, when you hear it, you will realize that this has happened to you too. If this touched your heart, right? I felt that too. You know that feeling when something prevented you from leaving the house, for no logical reason, and then you find out that something terrible happened right where you were supposed to be. An accident, a mishap, something that would have left you exposed, vulnerable, but for some reason you weren't there. Your mind tries to explain it. Of course, you might think it was chance, fate, or just a weird day. But deep down, something tells you that there was a greater force involved. What if this isn't just intuition? What if, in fact, it's a silent sign of protection? What if, at that moment, someone or something was guiding you away from danger, without you realizing it? These experiences are more common than you might think, but few people talk about them with the depth they deserve. Most people ignore them and move on as if nothing had happened. But when you start to pay closer attention, you realize how much these small changes in direction have huge impacts. Life is made up of decisions, but also of interruptions. And some of these interruptions, when viewed from another angle, are true silent rescues. Now I want to go even deeper into this subject. There is a space within each of us that recognizes these signs before we even understand them. It is as if something inside the soul vibrates, creating an alert frequency, a discomfort, a feeling of butterflies in the stomach, an urge not to move forward. Science calls it instinct. Psychology calls it unconscious perception, but many call it spirituality. And when you see these sensations as the language of something greater, everything changes. Your mentality changes. You stop feeling like a loose piece in a random world, and you start to understand that you are being guided, accompanied, protected. Now imagine this. A child runs to cross the street. Everything happens in seconds. The car approaches, the mother screams. And at that moment, as if time slowed down, someone appears out of nowhere and grabs the child by the arm. Then he disappears. Nameless, faceless, witnesses say they saw a shadow. Others swear there was no one around. But the child is alive, and no one can explain how. It's not just about miracles. It's about the revelation that the invisible also acts, that there is something greater watching us behind the scenes of chaos. Now I want to take you even deeper into this reflection. Have you ever stopped to think that not every delay is an obstacle? Sometimes, that key you can't find, the shoe that goes missing, the bus that's late, all of these can be used as a protection tool, because the spiritual infiltrates the routine. It mixes with the ordinary, And that's where the beauty lies, in the idea that the extraordinary can be hidden in what seems banal. The angel that protects you doesn't need to reveal himself. He just needs to be present. And often, he is. There is a journey of transformation that begins when you decide to listen, not with your ears, but with your heart. When you stop trying to control everything and start observing the details, because details always carry signals. Always. Whether it's a dream that repeats itself, an insistent inner voice, a discomfort that won't go away. All of these can be part of a silent network of warnings, of alerts, of revelations. Life is telling you something. The question is, are you willing to listen? Now I want to delve deeper into the consciousness behind these signs. Many people report moments of extreme peace in dangerous situations, a calm that doesn't match the surroundings, an inner silence amidst the chaos, as if a presence had enveloped everything in light and safety. And then, when the danger has passed, the question arises, how did I manage to remain calm? The answer may not lie only in you, but in those who were by your side, even without being seen. Experiences are not modern legends. They are part of a hidden truth that many people experience, but few share, perhaps for fear of seeming exaggerated, or because they think no one will believe them. But believe me, more and more people are waking up to this perception. And the more people talk about it, the stronger this awareness becomes. More hearts open to feeling, more minds aligned with this energy of protection and presence. If you've ever experienced something like this, if a simple detail changed the entire course of your story, then you know what I'm talking about. It doesn't matter if it was big or small, if it was a clear warning or a simple inconvenience. What matters is that you felt it, and that's enough. Because feeling is the first step to listening. And whoever listens begins to see that they're not alone, that they're not adrift, and that yes, there is a greater force protecting them. What was the strongest signal you ever received? Comment below. Not every angel arrives with open wings and a heavenly light around them. Most of the time, they don't even show themselves. And that's exactly where the most impressive power of this presence lies. It acts silently, moves in the shadows of everyday life, crosses the backstage of our reality, and transforms destinies without making a fuss. Silent angels don't need an audience. They don't expect gratitude, recognition, or applause. They simply fulfill their mission to protect, and they do it at the right time, in the right place, with almost supernatural precision. Many of these angelic actions happen through something you already know well, but perhaps you have never noticed with this perspective: thoughts that appear out of nowhere, internal alerts that change your path at the last minute, obstacles that seem to disrupt your day, but that you later understand saved you, a delay, a change of plans, an appointment suddenly canceled, and later, when everything is revealed, you realize that what seemed like a flaw in the script was, in fact, a silent intervention, a protection that did not ask for permission, but that acted out of love. Now I want to go even deeper into this subject. There is a wisdom that operates beyond our logic, a spiritual intelligence that observes the flow of life with eyes that we do not have, and it is this wisdom that commands these silent angels. They manifest themselves without words, because they do not need to convince anyone. What they do is awaken a thought, a feeling, an annoyance. They are subtle triggers that affect your decision, and even if you do not realize it at the time, it takes you off the wrong path, saves you from greater pain, or prepares you for something that is yet to come. This discreet and often imperceptible way of acting has a clear purpose: to respect your free will. Angels do not control you. They do not command your will, but they suggest, gently nudge, and make something inside you react before it is too late. And the more you develop this inner listening, the more sensitive you become to this presence, because the signs exist and they are everywhere. But only those who are awake can notice them. Now I want to show you how this can have a direct impact on your journey. Some people think that spirituality is only about rituals, temples, and repeated prayers, but the true meaning of spirituality is living with the awareness that the invisible exists. It is recognizing that your story does not write itself, that there is a greater plot, woven by invisible hands, that cares about every detail of your path. And it is at this level that angels act. In the detail, in the instant that you didn't even see. One of the most beautiful things about this angelic presence is that it does not invade, force, or demand. It simply accompanies, and if you allow it, it intervenes. Sometimes, all it takes is a silent prayer, a sincere thought asking for clarity, or even a mental outburst that you thought no one heard. Believe me, they heard it. And even when it seems like nothing has changed, they have already begun to act. Now, stay with me a little longer, because this type of protection also reveals something very profound about the way you see yourself in the world. When you realize that you have been protected without even realizing it, something inside you changes. Your mindset expands. You begin to understand that you are not lost, that you are not at the mercy of chance. You are part of something bigger, someone who is being guided with care, with love, and with purpose. And this revelation, as simple as it may seem, has the power to completely transform the way you make decisions, how you face fear, and how you deal with what is yet to come. And it's not about denying reality, or pretending that there are no dangers or losses, but rather about realizing that, even in the face of chaos, there is order. Even in the face of pain, there is a presence that sustains you. And even when you feel weak, there is a strength that covers you without you having to ask for it. That's what we're talking about here, about a type of care that cannot be measured with the eyes, but that can be felt with the soul. A care that visits you in the most unexpected moments, that acts behind the scenes of your routine, and that is often only noticed when everything has already passed. And if you stop to think about a situation like that right now, if a memory crossed your mind at that moment, maybe it's because that angel is still with you. Maybe he never left. Maybe he was just waiting for you to realize, show me that you are here. With me, right? I continue. It was an ordinary morning. One of those where everything seems to be going as usual. The alarm clock rings, the coffee gets cold in a hurry, the bag is thrown on the car seat, and the city outside continues at its hurried pace. But that day, something different happened. A young woman was following her usual route, same time, same path, same hurry. The traffic light, which she already knew by heart, turned green right in front of her. But for some inexplicable reason, she didn't speed up. It was a split second, a strange impulse, as if an invisible hand were holding the steering wheel. She hesitated. She stood still, even though the light indicated that it was safe to go. And then, in a flash, a car speeding through the intersection, out of control, completely ignoring the red light. If she had kept going, she would have been hit head-on. The impact would have been inevitable. The witnesses, who were also paralyzed by the scene, could not understand how she had foreseen it. But she knew. It was not she who had foreseen it. It was something beyond her. Now I want to go even deeper into this type of revelation. There are times when everything around us says go, but within us a force screams, wait. And this force does not come from logic. It is not rational. It is not fear. It is an intuition that arrives as if it carried a secret code, a message from the invisible saying, not now. And it is in this pause that many lives are saved. Because time, when guided by divine hands, stretches, bends, and reorients itself to preserve that which still needs to continue. This story is not an exception. It is just one of the thousands that happen every day to ordinary people. People who did not seek a miracle, but received one. People who did not see an angel, but felt its presence as an unexpected decision, an unusual delay, a sudden change of plans. What is impressive is not only the outcome, but the type of sensitivity that begins to awaken after something like this. The person never drives the same way again. They never ignore that tightness in their chest again. Because once you are saved, by the invisible, you begin to see the world with different eyes. Now let me show you something even more profound on this journey. The vast majority of spiritual protections we receive are not spectacular. They are silent. And for this reason, they go unnoticed. But if you observe closely, you will realize that it is precisely the small deviations that have the greatest impact. A second of hesitation can change your entire destiny. A firm no can save you from years of suffering. A last-minute change of route can take you away from the path of disaster. And behind each of these moments, there may be a presence that does not need to be seen to be real. The impact of experiences like this goes far beyond the shock. They provoke an internal transformation, a change in mentality that reveals itself in the following days, when the adrenaline subsides and consciousness awakens. It is as if a dormant part of the soul suddenly awakens. You begin to ask yourself, what if I had gone? What if I had not listened to that strange sensation? And in this reflection, a hidden truth begins to emerge. You are not living alone. There is an intelligence around you that knows you better than you know yourself. That acts behind the scenes of your routine, and that only reveals itself when necessary. Now imagine how many times you were saved and didn't even realize it. How many times there was no red light, no out-of-control car, no explosion of emotions, but you were still diverted from danger. Because the angel doesn't only act when everything explodes. He acts mainly when everything seems calm. And that's why we almost never see him. Because he's right where we don't expect him. In the details, in the simple moment, in the routine. After the shock, this young woman spent days trying to explain what she felt. But how can you explain something that makes no sense? She didn't hear a voice. She didn't have a premonitory dream. She didn't see any mystical image. She just knew. She felt, and that feeling was enough to change everything. Her life went on. She continued going to work, facing traffic, fulfilling the same commitments. But with one difference. Now she knew she was no longer alone. And she never would be again. Let's see how many chosen are here. Comment, I'm waking up. And after experiencing something like this young woman did, something changes inside. It's as if your soul awakens to a new sensitivity. You start to pay attention to the details that you previously ignored, to the unexpected pauses, to the silent warnings, and you start to feel that there is, indeed, a greater intelligence guiding your steps, even when everything seems confusing on the outside. Because there is a divine timing that does not follow our clock, but always acts at the right moment. And if everything we're talking about here made sense to you, maybe it's time to deepen this connection even further. There's a material I've prepared with great care, especially for those who feel this calling more strongly. It's called Reading Your Birth Angel. It is practical, direct content, made for those who want to align themselves with the personalized guidance of the angelic kingdom, especially at this time when so many transformations are happening inside and outside of us. If it makes sense to you, take a look at the material I left below. It complements what we talked about here and can save you a lot of time and practice. It's in the description, but I might take it down in the next few days, so if it's useful for your journey, take advantage of it while it's still available. Now I want to go even deeper into this subject. It's curious how, even in the simplest moments, the body and soul can feel something that the eyes cannot see. Sometimes, you are at peace, going to do a common task, and suddenly, a shiver runs down your spine. Your mind doesn't understand, but your heart tightens. The environment seems the same, but the vibration changes. Something invisible moves, and everything inside you starts to say, "Don't go, wait a little, change the path." This strange sensation, almost always ignored, is one of the most delicate and most important signs that angels use to alert you of possible danger. Some people call it intuition. Others say it's spiritual sensitivity. But the truth is that they are messages. They are like whispers from the invisible, trying to reach you even when the noise of logic screams louder. And the most impressive thing is that these signs are almost never aggressive. They don't force you, they don't scare you, they just manifest themselves with a lightness that seems to make no sense at the time, until the outcome arrives. And that's when the impact comes. When you discover that, if you had ignored that sudden discomfort, something very serious would have happened. Now I want to dive deeper into this layer of awareness. Our body is a powerful receiver, and when you begin to align with your own journey of consciousness, it becomes a bridge between what you see and what is still hidden. Goosebumps, chills, a change in the rhythm of your breathing, even a sudden urge to sit down and take a deep breath, all of these can be codes. A subtle warning from something greater, from a presence that wants to keep you from going down paths that are not yours. But there is something even more important in this process: listening. Because the signs come, but it is up to you to decide whether to listen. How many times have you ignored that inner voice telling you not to go? How many times have you forced a situation even though you felt that the moment was not right? And then, looking back, you had to admit, "I knew it." That is what we are talking about here, a wisdom that precedes reason, a kind of hidden truth that can only be accessed when the mind is silent and the soul speaks. And look, this is not empty mysticism. It is pure spiritual practice. It is recognizing that there are layers of reality that cannot be measured by devices, nor analyzed by logic. It is allowing yourself to feel, even when you do not understand, because sometimes, what saves you is not a visible shield, but an inexplicable discomfort, a delay that irritates at the time but prevents a fatal encounter, a key left at home, a shoe that breaks, a phone call that keeps you up for 5 minutes, and when you leave, something has already happened. You didn't even see it, but you were saved. Now, think about this carefully. Have you been warned and not realized it? Could it be that the discomfort you tried to silence with distractions was actually a request for attention from above? Could it be that the discomfort was not anxiety, but rather a loving attempt to protect you from something that only God knew? These questions are like doors. When you start opening one, the others reveal themselves. And the more you walk, the more your sensitivity increases. The more you become spiritually stronger. Because it is not about fear, it is about awareness. It is about being awake. Now I want to go even deeper into this type of perception. There is a frequency where these signs become clearer. It is not in chaos, nor in rushing around, it is in silence. The moment you stop, breathe, and ask, "What does this discomfort want to show me?" When you learn to ask, you teach your spirit to listen, and this transforms everything. Because you are no longer at the mercy of what is happening outside. You begin to perceive what is forming inside, and the signs stop being enigmas and become guides. Loving warnings from an angel who protects you even when you don't know you are in danger. If you have ever felt this energy, tell me, I receive. Sometimes the clearest messages come while the mind rests. When the eyes close and the body falls asleep, something greater finds space to communicate. This is exactly what happened to a simple man who never considered himself a spiritual person, but who began to experience a type of revelation that profoundly affected his perception of reality. For several nights in a row, he had the same dream, always with the same scenario. A narrow road, sharp curves, dense forest on both sides, and an uneasy feeling in the air. But the strangest thing was that that road was not part of any place he knew. In his dreams, he drove slowly, as if something was about to happen. He felt butterflies in his stomach, an inexplicable discomfort, and he always woke up with his heart racing. On the third night, he woke up sweating, feeling a kind of urgency in his chest. It was as if that image had not been there by chance. Days later, an unexpected invitation came, a last-minute trip with friends heading to the countryside. The route, almost the same as the road in his dream. Even though he couldn't explain why, he refused. He said he had a bad feeling and that he would rather not go. People laughed at him. They said it was all in his head. Too many movies. Nonsense. But he stuck to his decision. It was only when he turned on the television 2 days later that he understood everything. The news showed aerial images of a stretch of road that had been affected by landslides caused by heavy rain. The same road from his dream. At the same time, he would be driving there. One of the cars that had been hit. The same model he had, and at that moment, everything made sense. The dream was not a nocturnal delirium, nor was it just a coincidence. It was a warning. A direct message from something that knew what was coming and tried to warn him before it was too late. Now I want to delve even deeper into this mystery. The world of dreams has always carried powerful symbolism, but it is not always just metaphor. At certain times, dreams are like screens where the spiritual plane projects images, sensations, and urgent messages. When an angel needs to warn you about something that logic cannot grasp, he can use precisely that which escapes rationality, the unconscious. And then, what seemed like just a nightmare gains a new perspective. A hidden truth begins to emerge. You are not dreaming by chance. How many times have you woken up with a strange feeling and simply ignored it? How many times have you dreamed about someone you hadn't seen in years, and the next day received news about that person? The spiritual plane communicates in subtle but consistent ways. The problem is that most people disconnect so quickly upon waking that they forget the message before they even brush their teeth. That's why, when you dream about something that moves you deeply, write it down. Reflect. Ask yourself, what is this trying to tell me? Because sometimes what seems absurd is precisely what saves you. This story also reveals something that few people realize: resistance. This man had to resist external pressure, peer pressure, judgment, and laughter. He followed what he felt, even without explanation, and this decision kept him alive. In many cases, the message arrives, but is ignored for fear of ridicule, attachment to routine, or lack of self-confidence. And this is a profound part of the spiritual journey, learning to trust what you cannot see, but feel. Learning to honor the message, even when no one understands. Now, think about it. If dreams are used as a means of communication, how many revelations have you experienced and forgotten? How many times have you been visited in silence, instructed in secret, spared from something greater, and only realized it much later? Spirituality does not speak to those who shout for answers, but to those who remain silent in order to listen. To those who respect their intuition. To those who understand that the backstage of life is much more complex than it seems. So this story is not just about a man and a road. It is about all of us. About the paths we avoid without knowing why. About the sleepless nights that carry precious messages. About the invisible plane that, every day, tries to guide us to a place of more light, more protection, more truth. And the most beautiful thing is that, once you accept this channel, it becomes stronger. Communication becomes clearer. The signs become more evident. And your transformation accelerates. If this touched your heart, right, I felt that too. What few people understand is that angelic protection doesn't usually come as a grand spectacle, with bright lights or booming voices. Most of the time, it manifests itself in the small details of everyday life, in the subtleties that go unnoticed by those who aren't paying attention. It's as if these angels create real, invisible, behind-the-scenes situations, silently and delicately changing the script of your life. An unexplained delay, a sudden change of plans, a strange forgetfulness, all of these can be a subtle intervention to keep you away from danger without you even realizing it. Imagine that life is a book full of chapters written by a higher power, but the angels have the pen that can correct mistakes before they happen. They know that the best path is not always the one we want to follow. And so sometimes they gently nudge you towards a detour that may seem frustrating at the time, but later turns out to be a saving decision. These small events are the loving and silent form of care that the universe offers, but they only become apparent when your mindset changes and you start to pay close attention to the signs. It's fascinating to think that what we call coincidence may actually be a hidden truth that is slowly being revealed. Forgetting that appointment, the car that decided not to work properly at the appointed time, or even that invitation that arrived late. All of this could be a mechanism created to ensure your safety, a gesture of love that doesn't need applause to exist. It's the journey of the invisible, working behind the scenes of your life to ensure that you are always protected, even when the rational mind insists on disbelieving. Now I want to go even deeper into this understanding. The more you connect spiritually, the more you tune your inner radar to these subtle movements. Your sensitivity grows, and what once seemed like coincidence is now clearly perceived as divine intervention. This connection creates a fine-tuning with the energetic field of the universe, a frequency where you begin to pick up signals before they become evident to others. It is as if, by opening this inner door, you are beginning to receive messages directly from the angelic kingdom. personalized guidance that completely transforms the way you make decisions. This silent protection also requires something very special from you. Trust. You need to trust in the invisible, in the feelings that cannot be explained, and even in those moments when everything seems to be going wrong. Because the angel who acts behind the scenes understands that your journey is unique and respects your time to understand the lessons. He does not impose or force a situation. He offers possibilities so that you can choose the best path, even if it is the one that, at first glance, seems the least obvious. This also shows us that spirituality is not just about big miracles, but about the sum of small choices made with awareness. When you learn to recognize these loving deviations, you begin to realize that your transformation is happening not only in the big turns in life, but in each moment of attention and surrender. Your mindset changes, the impact increases, and the hidden truth that once seemed distant begins to illuminate your path. It is a dance between what you choose to see and what the universe places before you so that you can grow. Now I want to go even deeper into this subject. It's important to understand that this protection is not a guarantee that nothing bad will happen, but rather that, even in difficult situations, you are never completely alone. Angels don't remove obstacles so that the journey is easy, but they walk alongside you, softening impacts, guiding decisions, and creating gaps where there seems to be no way out. This silent presence is the essence of divine care, a love that manifests itself between the lines of your life, working so that you achieve the best possible result, even if you don't understand why at the time. Therefore, paying attention to these details becomes a powerful tool for your own evolution. It is an invitation for you to develop greater awareness, making room for intuition, for internal listening, and for accepting the signs that arrive in unexpected ways. This is how protection ceases to be a distant concept and becomes a real experience, a practical guide for your personal transformation. It is the revelation that, even in silence, love is acting intensely. If you have ever felt this energy, tell me, I receive. There is a profound wisdom behind the silence of the angels. They do not invade your space, nor do they directly interfere with your freedom of choice, because they respect a sacred rule, free will. This freedom is essential for you to follow your own path, learn from your decisions, and feel the impact of each step you take. Therefore, what they offer is not a loud, imposing voice, but a delicate whisper, a gentle touch within you that can only be perceived when you develop the ability to listen beyond the obvious. This silence is a strategy of love and respect. Angels act behind the scenes, shaping possibilities, creating alternative paths, but always allowing the final decision to be yours. This discreet form of protection is a true school for the mind and spirit, an invitation for you to awaken a sharper perception, a mentality that is more open to the hidden truths that manifest themselves in subtle signs and sensations. The challenge lies precisely in learning to recognize these whispers amidst the noise of everyday life, amidst the distractions of the rational mind. Now I want to go even deeper into this subject, because understanding this silent way of acting brings about a powerful transformation. When you start paying attention to the signs that come in the form of intuition, sudden chills, that feeling that something is not right, you are cultivating a direct connection with the source of protection that has always been by your side. This connection changes your attitude towards life, helps you make more aligned and conscious decisions, and strengthens your confidence in the journey you are taking. It is a process that goes far beyond mere chance. It is a concrete manifestation of divine care. The impact of this awareness is enormous. It opens space for a new way of living, where fear diminishes and faith grows. You begin to realize that you are not alone, that there is an invisible support that walks alongside you, even in moments when everything seems uncertain. This hidden truth, when revealed, not only calms the soul but also offers clear direction for those who feel that their life needs a profound transformation. And this transformation does not happen overnight. It is built on the sum of small moments of listening and attention. Therefore, understanding why angels speak softly is an invitation to develop a keen sense of inner listening, a spiritual radar that captures what the eyes don't see and the ears don't hear. It's like learning a new language, full of subtleties and nuances that make all the difference in how you face your challenges and make your decisions. This mindset opens doors to a lighter journey, even in the face of difficulties, because you know that there is a greater force guiding your steps, always ready to act, even if silently. Now I want to go even deeper into this understanding. The silence of the angels is also a reminder for you to exercise patience and surrender. The answer or sign will not always come when you want it, but that does not mean that you are helpless. Often, protection works behind the scenes, preparing the ground for a revelation that will only come when you are ready to receive it. This active waiting is an essential part of the process of spiritual and personal growth, because it helps to refine your perception and strengthen your faith. This way of acting also reveals that true strength does not lie in imposition, but in the invitation to self-knowledge and internal transformation. The angels, with their silent presence, challenge you to develop a deeper relationship with yourself and the universe around you. They want you to be the protagonist of your own story, to take control of your life with awareness and courage, knowing that, even when it seems difficult, you will never be abandoned. If this touched your heart, right? I felt that too. That moment was etched in her memory in a way that ordinary words could never achieve. She was completely alone on the street, enveloped by a strange silence, when suddenly an intense weakness took over her body, as if a dense, invisible cloud weighed down her limbs. Her vision began to fail, everything around her became blurred, and a deep, urgent fear took root in her chest, squeezing her heart like an inescapable knot. It was exactly at that moment, on the threshold between consciousness and loss of control, that he appeared, a strange man, coming from nowhere, as if he had emerged from the atmosphere itself, moving with an almost supernatural calm. There was no hurry or hesitation, only a serene firmness that seemed to carry a purpose greater than any human logic could explain. He supported her with a gentle but sure strength, as if that moment were the only thing that mattered in the universe. At that precise second, she felt, in that touch, a comfort that surpassed any rational understanding, a protection that was not limited to the body, but embraced the soul, a support that transcended the physical. For a brief and precious moment, time around her slowed down. The voices of the city grew distant, and it seemed as if an invisible, silent, almost sacred presence surrounded her life with a shield of absolute care. And then, like a breath, when the paramedics finally arrived, asking for the person who had taken her from that dangerous situation, he was no longer there. The stranger had disappeared, evaporating into the crowd as naturally as he had appeared, leaving behind nothing but mystery and a profound sense that something greater had happened. No report, no clue, no explanation, only the enigma of this invisible angel who had become reality in that moment. Now I want to delve even deeper into this subject, because these stories, so striking and almost unbelievable, are not mere coincidences, or the product of the fertile imagination of those who experience them. They reveal to us the behind the scenes of a much more complex dimension of existence, where the invisible and the visible coexist and interact in a constant dance. They are reminders of the silent impact of subtle forces that surround us, working behind the scenes to protect, guide, and preserve. The hidden truth here is that there is a care acting in the shadows, which does not impose itself, but respects our freedom and time, which helps us find safe paths without directly interfering in our choices. These interventions are invitations for you to expand your mindset and open your heart to a deeper understanding, where the universe conspires in your favor. Even when everything seems chaotic or uncertain, this revelation leads us to an essential transformation, accepting that not everything can be explained by reason or by everyday logic, that there are subtle movements and hidden meanings that defy our immediate perception. The figure of the stranger who disappears is a living metaphor for this silent and discreet, but no less powerful, protection. It is a reminder that the mind needs to learn to trust delicate signals, that intuition that appears out of nowhere, the inexplicable feeling that alerts us, because it is precisely in this field that true connection is established. On this journey, each step you take is loaded with meaning. Each decision has the power to change the course of your story. And behind the scenes, these invisible interventions act to prevent you from taking dangerous paths, guiding you towards routes of growth and learning that often go unnoticed. Now I want to go even deeper into this understanding, because the true essence of the protection that these beings or these invisible forces offer lies in the absolute respect for your autonomy, your free will. They do not invade, they do not command, they do not present themselves with bright lights or booming voices. They work with a subtlety that is almost a whisper, a delicacy that requires you to develop a more acute listening, a sensitivity that goes beyond the obvious and finds meaning in the subtext of your life. Learning to perceive what is not said directly, to capture the signs hidden in the shadows, transforms your mindset, changes the way you make decisions, and strengthens your trust in that which cannot be seen, but which is deeply felt. This change has a real and powerful impact on your life, because it broadens your perception and equips you to navigate complex situations with greater confidence and serenity. Recognizing these signs and accepting that there is an invisible care working behind the scenes is an act of courage and faith, which strengthens you to face challenges even when the path seems uncertain or hostile. This hidden truth not only offers comfort, but renews the energy and hope needed to continue moving forward on your own journey, aware that, even in the most difficult moments, there is a greater force watching over you, keeping you protected when you least expect it. Comment. This message was for me. It's not always easy to recognize these warnings, especially when life is busy and our minds are full of distractions. Often, that strange feeling, that butterflies in our stomach, or that sudden discomfort are ignored or justified by the rush of everyday life. But now I want to go even deeper into this subject, because these signs that appear are much more than mere coincidences or exaggerations of our imagination. They are like delicate whispers of a hidden truth, of an ancient wisdom that resides in our own intuition, and that the angels are these invisible forces used to guide us with care and respect for our free will. The mindset we cultivate when faced with these experiences makes all the difference in the way we interpret life and make decisions. After all, true transformation begins when we learn to listen to what the silence has to say. When you feel a warning, the first step is not to run away, or panic. It is, first of all, to take a deep breath, bring your attention inward, slow down your mind, and make room for discernment. This conscious pause is a powerful tool because it allows you to connect with that deepest part of yourself, the place where clarity, and truth reside. Praying, meditating, or simply silencing your mind are ways to tune into this invisible channel of communication, where the most important revelations happen. It is at this moment that the impact of the decisions you are going to make becomes more evident, because they stop being impulsive and become choices aligned with a greater journey. It is essential to understand that signs are there to warn and protect, but the final decision is always yours. Angels do not take control of your life. They do not override your free will or replace your ability to choose. They are there, working behind the scenes, offering options, creating diversions, sending these small warnings that may seem insignificant, but carry enormous weight if they are perceived. Feeling fear or confusion when these signs appear is natural, as it affects our comfort zone, our deep-rooted beliefs and patterns. But it is precisely in this space of discomfort that an opportunity for growth and profound transformation begins. Now I want to go even deeper into this understanding, because the way you deal with these moments of alert can determine not only your physical safety, but the course of your personal and spiritual evolution. Learning to recognize when it is time to stop, reflect, and act calmly requires training and patience, as well as an open mind to the unknown. This means abandoning the habit of acting automatically and starting to pay attention to the backstage of your own life, to the subtext of events. The hidden truth lies precisely there, in the details that go unnoticed, in the signs we ignore, in the opportunities we miss due to lack of attention or courage. This practice of observing, asking for discernment, and trusting your intuition has a direct impact on your journey, as it strengthens your connection with that which is invisible but real, a field of forces that works for your well-being. Even when you don't realize it, it is in this space that silent protection manifests itself most intensely, offering alternatives to avoid dangers and opening doors to safer and more productive paths. And the more you tune into this reality, the more your outlook transforms. Your mind opens to more conscious decisions, and the impact of your choices becomes visible in all areas of your life. Have you ever noticed how sometimes a simple moment of pause can save you from a complicated situation? Or how a seemingly vague intuition turns out to be an essential warning to avoid a mistake? These small experiences are practical manifestations of this invisible care that is always present, waiting for you to be willing to listen and act wisely. Recognizing these moments is an invitation for you to take the lead in your own story, aware that, even in the face of uncertainty, there is greater support working to help you find the best route. This awareness generates renewed inner strength, a confidence that transcends fear and doubt, allowing you to move forward with serenity and clarity. Now, I want to go even deeper into this perspective, because this ability to perceive and respond to warnings is a key to real and lasting transformation. When you learn to stop and listen, to ask yourself questions, and to seek answers beyond the obvious, a channel of communication with the forces that care for you opens up. This connection, which seems so subtle, is the true engine of change, the secret behind the scenes that often goes unnoticed in the rush of life. And it is this connection that can lead you on a journey where every decision has meaning, where every detour is a new chance, and where the hidden truth reveals itself like a beacon in the darkness, guiding your steps with wisdom and silent love. Comment there. That makes sense to me. Developing spiritual awareness is not an immediate process or something that happens overnight. It is, in fact, a journey of inner transformation that requires patience, presence, and a willingness to delve into the depths of one's own soul. Now I want to go even deeper into this subject, because inner silence is the space where true connection with the divine begins to flourish, away from the distractions and constant noise that the modern world imposes on us. Meditation, prayer, contemplation, these are the paths that open the doors to a more sensitive listening, where the subtle signs, intuitions, and guidance of the angels can finally be perceived with clarity. When you are willing to create moments of silence, even if only for a short time, your mind stops competing with the external and internal noise and begins to harmonize with a different frequency, a frequency that vibrates in tune with hidden truth and ancestral wisdom. This completely changes your mindset, because you start to live not only on autopilot, but connected to a dimension where decisions take on new weight and meaning. The transformation that occurs in this process is profound, because it is not just about seeking answers outside, but about digging within, finding there a space of peace and guidance that is always available, but often hidden under layers of worry and distraction. The constant practice of connecting with the divine through inner silence has a direct impact on your ability to recognize and interpret the signals you receive daily. You begin to realize that the angels are not competing with the noise of the world. They are waiting for you to slow down, to stop trying to control everything, and instead, to open yourself to the mystery, to the truth that cannot be seen with the eyes but felt deeply. It is in this space that the spiritual journey takes shape, where revelations become a tool to guide your decisions with greater awareness, avoiding mistakes and opening paths for personal and spiritual growth. Now I want to go even deeper into this understanding, because this silent and patient presence of the angels also invites us to develop an active listening style, one that goes beyond words and sounds, that delves into the fine print of life. This active listening transforms your perception of reality, revealing the backstage of existence where invisible forces work incessantly for your well-being. With this strengthened connection, you begin to live an experience where each choice, each moment of doubt or uncertainty, can be illuminated by a wisdom that is not only logical, but spiritual, intuitive, and profoundly transformative. This mindset, based on the practice of silence and openness, creates a lasting impact on your life because it changes the way you relate to the world and to yourself. By cultivating this connection, you develop a sensitivity that helps you better navigate daily decisions, perceive previously invisible opportunities, and protect yourself from situations that could cause suffering. It is like having access to a hidden knowledge that works behind the scenes of your life, silently working to preserve your integrity and guide your steps with love and wisdom. Have you ever noticed how in the moments when you are truly present, everything seems to fall into place more naturally? That answers come unexpectedly, and that intuition becomes a constant companion. This is the magic of being connected to the divine and the angels of fine-tuning that expands your field of perception and changes the dynamics of your journey. Learning to surrender to this experience, respecting your own pace and space, is essential for this connection to grow and flourish, becoming a powerful force for your personal transformation. Now I want to go even deeper into this perspective, because developing this spiritual perception also means understanding that the silence you seek is not a void, but rather a space full of meaning, where decisions are illuminated by a light that comes from within. This light is the manifestation of the hidden truth that guides your journey and reminds you that even when everything seems uncertain, there is an invisible care that never abandons you. When you practice this inner silence, you begin to access the backstage of your own consciousness, revelations that help align your choices with a greater purpose, bringing balance, peace, and clarity. Comment, I'm on this journey too. When you look back and remember those moments when something unexpected made you slow down or change course, perhaps a delay, a meeting that didn't happen, a decision that you postponed, it's natural for your mind to want to rationalize and understand the reason for all of this. Now I want to go even deeper into this subject, because often, without realizing it, you have been protected in ways that escape logic and common understanding. Those deviations that seemed like setbacks may have actually been silent interventions, subtle adjustments in the course of your life, invisible gestures of care that preserved your integrity and well-being. Transformation happens precisely when you begin to make room for this possibility, for this hidden truth that reveals itself among the details of your past. It is fascinating to think that, in the midst of the chaos and rushed decisions of everyday life, there is a mentality that invites us to slow down and reflect on these signs that do not always arrive in the form of clear messages, but that leave subtle traces, a kind of fingerprint of divine protection, or the universe in action. This has a profound impact because it changes the way you understand your own journey, revealing the behind-the-scenes choices and events that shaped your trajectory. Often, events that seem like delays or obstacles are, in fact, necessary adjustments to avoid a path that could be much more difficult or even dangerous. This revelation opens your eyes to a new type of decision, made with greater awareness and respect for these signs. Now I want to go even deeper into this understanding, because recognizing that you have been protected implies accepting that there are forces at work that are not visible, but that act with delicate and intelligent care. This changes the way you face your own challenges and uncertainties, because you begin to realize that, even in situations of apparent failure or unexpected change, there is an invisible hand guiding your steps. This perception increases your capacity for resilience and helps you maintain a positive mindset in the face of obstacles. Understanding that each choice and each delay has a greater purpose, this hidden truth transforms your relationship with time, with decisions, and with life itself, creating a journey that is richer in meaning and learning. This mental transformation has a direct impact on the way you act and react to situations, because you start to pay more attention to details and become more open to the subtleties of everyday experience. You realize that what seemed like a simple coincidence can actually be a powerful sign that deserves to be considered. This sensitivity puts you in tune with the behind the scenes of your destiny, revelations that often only manifest themselves to those who are willing to listen and interpret the subtle language of the universe. This awakening changes your perception of your own history and strengthens you to face future challenges with greater wisdom and courage. Now I want to go even deeper into this point, because this silent protection also invites us to a greater surrender, to a trust that does not depend on absolute control of situations, but on an openness to the mystery and magic that hides in the little things. This trust creates a real impact on your emotional balance, helping to reduce fear and anxiety, and strengthening faith in a greater force that guides your path. This change in mindset is a powerful revelation, as it puts us in direct connection with what is essential and reminds us that, even when everything seems uncertain, we are never truly alone. By accepting that you have been protected more times than you realize, you begin a journey of recognition and gratitude that broadens your field of vision and transforms your way of living. This understanding gives you the strength to look at events with new eyes, revealing the behind the scenes of situations that previously seemed confusing or unfair. It is a change that makes room for a new reality, where the impact of decisions is accompanied by a greater sense of security and purpose, creating a clearer and lighter path to move forward. Comment there. That makes sense to me. I fully understand the power of sharing an experience that seems inexplicable. That moment when we feel that something greater was present, even when everything around us seems silent. Now I want to go even deeper into this subject, because real stories of protection, signs and mysterious encounters that defy logic connect us to a hidden truth that many do not dare to recognize. The presence of angels, invisible guardians who walk by our side, protecting and guiding us, even when we cannot see or fully understand what is happening. This silent impact that these stories cause is not only an invitation to believe, but a call to open our minds and hearts to a profound transformation, to an understanding that goes beyond the surface, revealing the behind the scenes of this life journey that is much greater than we imagine. When you share your story, you are contributing to this powerful chain of testimonies that strengthen collective faith and illuminate paths that often seem obscure. Each story is a fundamental piece of this invisible puzzle that helps build a more open and receptive mindset towards spirituality, towards the subtle signs that the universe and the divine send us every day. It is a movement of connection, an opportunity for the impact of these experiences to reach more people, awakening curiosity, hope, and a deep sense of belonging to something greater. A true internal revolution that begins when we recognize that we are not alone on this journey. Now, I want to go even deeper into this invitation to transformation, because the decision to share your experience is also a courageous step, a conscious choice to expose yourself to help others who may be going through similar situations and still feel lost or disbelieved. This action has enormous weight behind the scenes of spiritual life, as it strengthens not only you, but everyone who connects with this message. The strength of the collective, combined with the individual courage to share their experiences, creates a wave of energy that moves perception, breaks paradigms, and reinforces that divine protection is much closer than we imagine. This revelation is essential to reconfigure our mentality and make room for the positive changes we want to see in our own path. This transformed mindset brings to light a powerful truth: the power of active listening and empathy in the face of spiritual experiences. It is not just about blindly believing, but about allowing yourself to see between the lines, the discrete signs that the angels leave as clues, not imposing, but guiding. This approach changes the way we view life's decisions, because we understand that they do not happen in isolation, but in a much larger context, where each choice is part of a complex dance between free will and divine intervention. The impact of this is immense, as it teaches us to respect time, to trust the process, and to value each sign, each warning we receive, even the most subtle ones, as true tools for navigating with wisdom and serenity. Now I want to go even deeper into this point, because connecting with this hidden truth creates a journey of self-knowledge and strengthening of faith that goes far beyond what is seen on the surface. It is a process that requires surrender, courage to face doubts, and the willingness to accept that not everything can be explained by common logic. This acceptance is liberating, as it takes away our absolute control and invites us to trust in the wisdom of the universe and the constant presence of the angels who silently support us. This change in mindset directly impacts the quality of our journey, as it brings peace and security even in the face of uncertainty, paving the way for a fuller, more aligned and protected life. By forming this chain of stories, we are, in fact, activating a network of energy that transcends the individual and reaches the collective, showing that faith and divine protection are not abstract or distant, but rather experiences lived and shared by many. This revelation changes the way we see the world and ourselves, creating a movement of hope and transformation that drives the spiritual awakening of each person. The impact of this is not only emotional, but also practical, as it strengthens the ability to make conscious choices, to listen to the signs, and to act with greater clarity and confidence on one's own journey. And when you allow this internal transformation, you open yourself up to a flow of revelations that change your perception of reality, bringing to light the behind the scenes of what lies beyond the visible. This expanded awareness is an invitation to live with more authenticity, courage, and connection, understanding that the decisions we make reverberate far beyond what we imagine, affecting not only our own story but also the lives around us. This is the essence of true transformation, a profound impact that begins within but spreads, creating waves of light and protection in all directions. Comment: I'm on this journey too. If you've made it this far, it's because this message really resonated with you in some way, and that's special. I invite you to leave a comment below saying I'm with you until the end. That way, we know who is truly connected to this journey we're living together. You know, each video we create here is designed to bring value, to open doors in our minds and hearts, and it's this exchange that makes it all worthwhile. If you felt that the content touched something inside you, leave a like. It's a simple way of showing that this connection exists and that we want to continue walking side by side in this transformation. That there is a video here on the side that complements this subject exactly. So click and continue with me there, because there is still a lot of good stuff to discover and understand about these signs, these messages, and this silent protection that is present in our lives. Let's continue on this journey together, paying attention to the details and open to the revelations that are yet to come. Comment: I'm with you until the end.